All right, you are now tuned into the Rotated Views podcast. I am your host, Jimmy Lee Velez. I am here with Gabe, Goose, the man of the hour, Steve Young, Temple Made Part 2. In this episode, we have Pseudo-Crew that talks about their experience at Temple University. Part 1 featured in episode 81 with our good friend Scott Sandler. We cover topics that range from sports, classes, living arrangements, food, city life, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Russell Conwell and John Chaney. Guys, if you're new, thank you for listening. Don't forget to download and subscribe. We drop a new episode every Tuesday morning for your listening pleasure. With that being said, kicking things off with the man, Steve Young.
What's up, Jim?
Steve Art Young.
Arthur.
That's Arthur, but I like Art. So he has the initials S-A-Y everywhere, and I have to tell you, I think it's the coolest thing ever.
No, thank you.
All right, so explain to everyone who do not know you, who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so Steve Young, I met Jimmy Lee freshman year at Peabody.
Yes. Peabody is a location. What would you call that? Is it dorm?
Freshman dorm.
Freshman dorm?
One of the oldest. My father was actually at that dorm when he was at Temple in the 70s.
But that was like an apartment then, wasn't it?
No,
that was still
towers.
dorms?
Yeah, Peabody was still the dorm.
It's great.
Yeah, and I grew up just in Newtown, not too far from here in Bristol, and went to Council Rock, then Temple, and found my way to you guys.
Yep. So, all right. So this is the craziest thing. So we met. It was freshman year. Scott says a little bit in episode 1. It's you don't know what you get. It's kind of like the luck of the draw. And Scott and Steve roomed together because they grew up together. You know, lived around the same neighborhood. They obviously knew each other, so it was a good fit, right? So they roomed. So the same thing with me and Manny. Obviously, we're cousins. We both got accepted into Temple. I'm like, dude, let's do this thing together. It's gonna be awesome. It's, once in a lifetime opportunity. Mm-hmm. But when you get the rooms, I forget how it really worked because there they guarantee you housing for just like your freshman year, right?
Yep.
So they get you in.
Yeah.
So we knew we were gonna at least be able to room together, but that was the only guarantee. Like where you landed, that's where the lottery I think came into play. So we landed in Peabody, second floor, right? Mm-hmm. So we're on the second floor in Peabody, and it's like a bunch of strangers. It's a bunch of adults that for some people for the first time they're away from their parents, away from like there's no rules. It's still this like artificial way of being free because you're like in this bubble. Yeah. All your money's on a Temple card and all this other stuff. It's so funny, and you think you're so independent, you're really not. But anyway, they're I think in the hallways, obviously, we're saying hi to each other, kind of introduce ourselves, but it was nothing crazy. I think everyone was kind of a little overwhelmed with the whole thing anyway. But then they're doing like this intramural sports or something. Scott was trying to put a team together. And Steve was trying to be like a receiver or something. I forget.
Lineman. I was the center.
Steve was a lineman. Flag football, mind you. So they started recruiting people. They really didn't care who it was. So they're like, hey, guys, we need to put a team together. We basically need bodies. We think it'd be fun. And we're just like, yeah, we're in. And that was, dude, we had a kicker on our flag football team. I think it was the first in Temple University history.
We were the only people.
We were the only people. Embarrassed. I'll never forget. He actually kicked it. I'm like, we're really doing this?
And it went out of bounds.
Yeah. So he was a soccer player, but he wanted to be involved somehow. So we made him the kicker, right? I mean, it only makes sense. It was hilarious. And then I designed the T-shirts that some people still have. Believe it or not, we were called the Freshman Fury. And I think Steve, weren't you captain or something?
No, Scott was captain. I was just there.
Yeah, we're just there. And Manny was a quarterback.
Yes. He was a good quarterback too.
He was a good quarterback. Yeah, he threw a couple seeds. I think he was like he thought recruiters were there.
Yeah. Well, one of the other teams tried to poach him.
Yeah, that's right.
And that was a big to-do in the dorm.
Yeah, that's right. That's hilarious. All right, so let's go back to the whole how it all started for you at Temple. What made you choose Temple? Because that's like a big decision, right? In a kid's life, you're a kid, and you got to make this major decision. Even though obviously you have influencers, right? You have your parents, you have family, you have friends. Obviously, your grades got to be where they need to be to get accepted. Whatever. I'm sure. I don't know if you applied to other. Where are there other colleges you applied to?
So I applied to Westchester, UConn, St. Joe's, but Temple was the easy choice because my father worked there, so it was free tuition.
Yes.
So, I knew I was going to go there.
Yeah, you were just like playing around with the other guys. What was that experience like when you got the letter, the acceptance letter?
I mean, it was kind of surreal. It was, I think, just the next stage of life. I was like, all right, what's this mean? Yeah. So your dad went to Temple too, though. He did.
He worked for Temple. He also graduated from Temple.
He did. Yep.
So, which is kind of cool because we have a smaller, younger version of his dad. His dad still hangs out with his college buddies. Yep. I mean, not like go out to bars or anything, but I mean, literally they go to games, golfing. They go to games. Like it's cool as hell. And then as obviously his son kind of showed him the ropes and all that good stuff. It was just a neat experience. I remember getting that letter and freaking out because I was like, dude, this is the only school I applied to. I was like, do or die for Temple. I'm like, I'm going to Temple. Everything made sense. You're away from home, but you're close enough to home. I mean, it was just like, if you needed something, I mean, it was just awesome. I mean, and you're in the city, right? I mean, you're coming from the suburbs. Now, I'm assuming you've gone to like basketball games. You've been to Temple prior to that. I'm assuming with your dad and all that. But was that your first exposure to city life, obviously, like living there?
Oh, yeah. Growing up as a kid, I hated coming into the city.
Yeah.
So it was a period of adjustment. I remember we lived on Broad Street, Peabody, and I could not sleep the first month because of the traffic.
Yeah.
And it's just like, but, by the time you get used to it, you go home, and I couldn't sleep because it was so silent.
Yeah. And talk to us about what degree you graduated with. What made you go to that choice of field and all that good stuff.
So I got my undergrad in health information management. I was undecided freshman, sophomore year, and you had to have a major going into junior year.
Yeah.
No idea. I didn't even explore any options. My dad. My dad knew.
It's such a big decision, so it's like crazy.
It's a big decision, but I took at it so like whimsy. my dad had a conversation with, I guess she was the chair or whatever, the HIM program, and my dad's like, why don't you go check this out? So I went and talked to her. I said, what the hell? I have to have a major. Let's go with this one.
Yeah.
And it worked out. It's been good since. So it was a good choice, but just fell into it.
Yeah.
But yours was like somewhat, almost a different version of it. You went to a few different majors, but then settled on HRM.
Yeah, right? So I actually started out for a physical therapy, the field of study, and ironically, all the classes I took for my first 2 years were health related. So I took all the kinesiology, all the sciences, and all that good stuff. Obviously, as you know, if you go to that 4-year program, you take classes that have nothing to do with anything.
Yeah, of course.
Like weight training and tennis, which I took.
Yeah.
Dude, which is crazy and their whole point, I guess, is like for you to come out as a well-balanced person.
Sure.
I will tell you, it did open tennis was the thing I did it on purpose. I'm like, I never played tennis. I don't ever see myself playing tennis. And it was one of those options. I'm like, well, it's there. I'm going to have to pay for, it was like that or like, I don't even know.
They had everything. Rock climbing, scuba diving.
Yeah.
They had everything.
They had crazy choices.
That's awesome.
And I chose tennis, but which is funny because I wanted to learn how to play like anything that I'm into professional wise. Obviously, like, as a spectator, I love watching tennis, like, and I appreciated the sport. I'm like, let me appreciate it a little bit more and get into that whole tennis thing. I did the same thing with golf in high school. Not that I'm good at any of them, but it was great exposure.
And our major was small too. Like most people, we had 30 kids, I think, graduated with us in HIM.
Yeah.
Most people are hundreds.
Yeah, we were like in a corner at graduation. I didn't know what was going on. Didn't realize it was going to be the entire health science campus graduating the same day as us.
Oh, yeah.
And if it was, so you got to understand in health sciences, that includes nursing. And everyone knows nursing is like one of the biggest, chosen fields in history, I think. I don't even know. But it's a lot of people. And we graduated with them. So, dude, imagine that ceremony. We come out, it's like little, 10 little people are waving at our family. And we sit through this whole thing, dude. It was insane. Like hundreds, if not thousands of kids graduated all on the same day. And we were just 30 people. But anyway, so for me, the whole temple thing happened, or the major change happened when, something came up with PT. I wasn't feeling it, and I went to, I guess, guidance counselor. What do they call it? Advisor. I don't know.
Yeah, advisor.
Anyway, so I go and I talk to her. I'm like, listen, I'm not feeling this whole physical therapy thing. This guy, there was like a program, like an after school program where graduates would come back and give talks. And this dude, it's like, oh, I graduated last year or 2 years ago, whatever it was, and he was like in a lawsuit. Somebody was suing him. I'm like, what? And he was like all depressed, down and out. I'm like, I don't know if that was the best topic to talk about, but it definitely steered me away from it. So now I was like talking to Steve, and I'm like, well, what's he going for? Because I remember him always being undecided. It was a couple of them. And then everyone normally just goes to like business. If they still don't know what they're doing, it's like that's default. The go-to, and he's like, I'm doing health information management. You should check it out. I'm like, what? Health information management? He's like, check it out. You might, some of your stuff, you're in the health, your health background, some of it might transfer over. Dude, everything transferred over but like 2 classes or 3 classes where I had to take summer courses like back to back. So my freshman year was my only year I actually had a summer off, which is kind of crazy. I think, and then I went to school 3 years straight, which is weird. But I went to finish in 4 years. But anyway, so it ended up being this like really bizarre experience at first, but then we kind of made it our own. Because in college, what's weird, I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about it, but it's weird because we're 18, 19 years old, and then there's like a 52-year-old dude, dead serious, and then Steve's like throwing spitballs at me. Dude, right? I'm sure they got irritated at us.
It was very eclectic group we had. Yep.
Steve never, he paid attention, obviously, but there was this one time, I remember I don't know if he was like nervous or just truly not paying attention. We had to stand up in front of the class and tell them, I guess, why we chose the major or something like that.
Introduce ourselves.
Yeah, introduce yourselves. Oh, yeah. And so after everybody talked, the teacher would or the professor would kind of have some level of commentary, and I guess just to get the crowd going, so to speak, right? So like you'll be like, I'm Gabe Rivera. I live in Philly. I went to Lincoln High. She's like, oh, that's great. Anyone else go to Lincoln High? She was trying to I don't know, just make that connection or whatever. So the person
trying to break the ice for everybody.
Yes, yeah. She was trying to work the room or whatever. So the person in front of Steve, I'm behind Steve. We're literally giggling like boys. I don't even know what was going. I think we're nervous. But anyway, so we're just standing in line. We're just like, I'll be honest, I wasn't really paying attention to what anyone was really saying. Yeah. I'm like, oh, okay, that's Brian. Whatever. Okay, cool.
More concerned about what you're trying to say.
What the heck am I gonna say? Right. Jeez. And so she asked, so the dude in front of Steve, I don't know, it was a guy or a female, walks away, but the professor had turned to the class and asked a question. I don't even know. It'd be like, how many people here have gone to Italy? Or something like that, right? So Steve walks up as she says this question for the rest of the class, Steve just walks up to the mic. Hi, I'm Steven Young. He just introduced us.
Straight up cut her off.
Cut her off, was not paying attention. She's like, I just asked the class a question. She turned around and got bitter. Oh, it's too funny. And then I'm behind. You guys remember projector screens where you yank them down? I hid behind that laughing. I didn't even know what to do with myself. But then the whole class started, laughing. But that was me and Steve's introduction to a group of professional people that were hardcore. There's some people going back level setting, changing their life, careers. Yeah. And me and him are giggling behind a projector screen. You know what I mean? I don't even know.
Yeah, they took stuff way too serious.
Took to a whole other level. I do remember another icebreaker that we had, because obviously everyone knows if you go to college, as the semesters go on, some of your professors stay the same, some of them you get new ones. Mm-hmm. So it was one of these classes where this was a new professor. And so they did some other cheesy thing. You had to write, you had to have a conversation with the person in front of you or whatever behind you. Pick a partner and jot down 5 things about your conversation about the person. So instead of me going up and saying, hi, my name's Jimmy Lee Velez, I don't know, I'm a pretty cool guy, me and my cousin dorm together, whatever. instead of doing that, it would be Steve saying, "Hi, it's Jimmy Lee. He's like the prettiest guy I ever seen." It would be like that. So my whole goal was always trying to make like someone laugh or whatever. So I get up and like, "Oh, great. Steve reads off something like he's into poetry. He likes long walks on the beach or whatever." So I'm like, and I'm laughing because I really did write that to be like funny or whatever. Everyone in the class knew each other. That was the whole thing, except for the professor. So she didn't know who we were.
Oh, okay.
So I get Steve's card. I'm like, "This is Steve. He's a freestyle rapper. He whatever. His favorite color is clear." And everyone was like, "What?" The teacher's like, "I never heard someone. Can you rap? I've never heard someone say their favorite color is clear." It was like the funniest thing ever. But I mean, you had to do things like that. Otherwise, it would have been like, just I mean, it's class. It's hard.
Well, we were still tight with all the people we liked in class because
Steve didn't like a lot of people.
That's true. But a lot of them are in the same industry within Philly, in the area. And and people we like, that's your network. Yeah. People you don't like, I make sure they don't get jobs where I'm at. And,
that's true. Yeah. So. All right, so let's switch gears here. What was explained? I know you explained a little bit about Peabody, right? Steve also had this weird thing with like timing. We had to eat dinner at a specific time every single night.
5:30.
5:30, and if you didn't eat with the crew, dude, they would dog you when everyone got back. Like, "Oh, I can't believe he's not part of the crew anymore." Like they did this whole funny thing. Because we would traditionally go to the towers, right?
For the eat? J&H.
J&H, sorry, J&H. We would mainly go there. So for us, it was basically like you had on your little Temple ID, they're called Diamond Dollars, and you would swipe in. You had so many meals a week or whatever. There was different programs or, I don't know, things.
Whatever meal plan
packages you can pick, so to speak. So we would do that. So that was the living arrangement there. Did you eat all your meals at...
freshman year, I think so. Yeah.
But we got to know the campus a little bit better, and then explain a little bit about your living experience from sophomore, junior, and senior year.
Yeah, so sophomore year we were in 1300, I think.
1300.
Because Mike, the one roommate, got number 1 in the lottery.
Wow.
That's like literally hitting the jackpot, obviously.
Yep.
So you had choice of any dorm at that point?
We did.
Yeah.
Any dorm. Yep. And then but the thing was, there was the tight crew was 6 of us: Manny, Jim, Scott, myself, Mike, and this one guy, Joe, at the time.
Yeah.
But there were 6 of us, so we ended up having to split up. But yes, we did that sophomore year, and then junior and senior year, we all got the house together. And that's where I think most of our memories were made. A lot of them.
Yeah, it was weird because we created like this tight little group, right? We're doing all the intramural sports together. We're just obviously eating together, going out, hanging out together. And then sophomore year came and it was kind of this weird thing because we split up. It was like me, Manny, some random dude, and Mike Fine. We ended up in Towers.
Yep. I wish we were in Towers.
Yeah.
That was right next door, right?
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
Yep.
But anyway, so the living arrangements were obviously totally different, and obviously we still hung out, but it was like there was just like this weirdness, and we're like, dude, we got to like figure out this for like our last 2 years here. How can we switch this up? And these guys, like grown, weird old woman, like go and start house shopping for like we found some property a little bit, like a block off campus.
It was perfect though.
It was.
Yeah.
And then I made a mistake by bringing my mom down to check the house out. We all brought our parents to check the house out. And Steve's dad, thank God he was there because holy smokes, she doesn't want to hear it from kids, right? Well, 19, 20-year-old guys like, yo, we'll be fine. Everything's fine. Like, a bunch of guys. What are they going to do? A bunch of guys. Blah, blah, blah. Your mom doesn't want to hear that. You know what I mean? It's like, but luckily his dad was there, and obviously his dad's very familiar with the campus. He like kind of talked her down. He's like, no, everything will be fine. Like, smooth talked it off. But even beyond that, my mom was just, every single night will call me. And Steve knows we're literally a block off campus. Yep. It was like we were on campus, 1512 Fontaine Street. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that was an experience because then you roomed with Manny.
Yep.
I roomed with Lipinski, Mike, and then Scott, who was on episode 81 with us, roomed with Joe. which was, the funniest, I think, landscape of all. It's just you want to talk about eclectic. That was an interesting batch.
Well, you and Mike's room was, I think, 2x4, and your beds were
Yes.
like elevated above the whole room.
Yo, we had the smallest room known to man. We literally went to I went to IKEA. I think he built his. He got like this full size bed. I'm like, he asked me though. He did ask me. He's like, what size bed are you getting? I'm like, dude, I'm at IKEA right now. I'm getting this weird like twin that is jacked up almost like a bunk. It's like a bunk bed.
It was like 7 feet off the floor.
It was unnecessarily high.
It was pressed against the ceiling.
It was pressed against the ceiling, but then it was made so that you had the bottom open so you could put a desk. And so that's what I did. I put a desk with my computer underneath my bed, and then the other side I had it like as a clothes rack. Because literally, you got to think these houses were built in like, if not early 1900s, whatever. They're closets. Everyone knows. Like a hanger can't even fit.
Yeah.
Right? And so I'm like, this is all the space we have. I would just put like my water and whatever supplies back there. It would literally nothing else fit. But yeah, our living arrangement was so funny. And I know Scott and Joe had like
The big room
with like video games. I'm like, man,
Fridge.
these guys, they had a fridge. I mean, these guys were living it up. And then we went downstairs, and I mean, we did not take care of that house. I mean, it was just. The other thing was, I mean, we didn't even want to pay too much for like heating to the point where we were inside
Just kept
watching
heating
sports in coats.
Yeah. I think Manny had the rule. If it was, below 34, the heat doesn't go on or something.
Below 34.
That's the threshold that we're allowed to use utilities.
Yeah, it was very interesting. Somehow it worked, and then eventually our house got attempted, to get robbed a couple times. But we got a dog, or one of the guys, Scott got a dog. What was the dog's name? Brody. Brody. Do you remember what kind of dog it was?
It was supposed to be an Amstaff purebred. That thing was a straight up like Rottweiler mix. He was this tough looking dog.
Yeah, no, he was
Big.
And he had a bark that served the purpose.
Yeah,
And it was like this deep, like roar, like, oh God, what's in there, bear? Yeah, I mean, that whole thing. I mean, did you get more of like the city life feel then when you had like a house, and then I don't even remember how we got around, like outside of campus.
Well, when we go out, because when we were there, the city still wasn't like popping like it is now. So we'd always go out to Old City, and we'd just take the subway down. I remember we'd take the subway every weekend, but it was always subway or just walking.
Yeah. And that's the thing about the city. It's like somehow you can still get around without a car, which was actually nice. But I think eventually you ended up bringing your car, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, or Mike had his car. I think I had my car. No, because because we had to drive for our internships for the program, which I had to drive. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That was late.
Because I remember like one of you guys driving us go get like.
That's probably Mike. Mike drove us around a lot.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So speaking about being on campus, was there like a favorite spot that you would go to, like a little food stop, a food truck, or anything that you would stop at to?
Temple Star.
Temple Star.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that was on Diamond Street.
That was on Diamond Street. Yeah.
That's pizza, right? Or
No.
No.
You're thinking of Pizza Star, and that's by me.
No,
we just ordered that last week.
That was Owl's Nest.
Yeah, Owl's Nest. Oh my gosh, Owl's Nest. Is that still there?
Maybe something else.
Wow.
Now? Yeah.
Owl's Nest was a pizza joint that it was just funny because the guy was from Pittsburgh.
Oh.
But he opened up this. He went to Temple and he opened up this shop. So everything he had was like the Steelers or the Pirates. It was just an odd thing because we're all Phillies fans. He even had like a Roethlisberger, like playing a trick on. It was just it was annoying. But the pizza was great because then they're open till like 3 a.m. or something like that.
Well, they were open to 1. Temple Star was open, I think, to like 4.
So Temple Star is a little Chinese thing off of Broad and Diamond. It's still there, and it had like, I'm not exaggerating, bulletproof wall going up, printed out menu, and you would just point to a picture or a number, and it was literally done within minutes. It was amazing.
Oh yeah. 10 minutes was every Chinese place
10 minutes
tells
would
you.
be done in 10 minutes, and hey, that was, we fell back on that a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Everything else was closed. Temple
Chinese,
Star was
I don't know what is Chinese is always open mad
Yeah.
late in North Philadelphia.
Yeah, I mean, crazy late. But there was no lunch trucks. Yeah, when we went on health science games, wasn't that like
Yeah.
that Greek truck that was
Yeah,
there?
because I used to get the breakfast every morning.
Oh my God,
'Cause I was
so
just
good.
straight egg on wheat because that's like all I could afford.
Yeah, egg and wheat. He was getting sandwiches. I was just getting bananas.
Bananas in your coffee.
Bananas in my coffee. That was like, oh my God, way too much sugar. Yeah, so we had that place. But what about like on the main campus? Wasn't there like a...
Well, there was a bunch of food trucks, but like that's the thing. We were up at the health science campus, so
Most of the time, yeah. There was this like out of this world pizza place on main campus, by the Paley Library across the street. Remember they had like
Maxie's.
Was it Maxie's?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, Maxie's. Yes. Oh my gosh, it was so good.
Because that was I think when y'all started, that was like new on campus, right?
Yeah,
It was.
It was.
and it was like the bar, like and it had a bar too, like in the middle
Well,
of campus.
One of the
Yeah.
things that my mom was like, "Oh, great," was that it started off as a dry campus, and then all of a sudden Maxie's goes bink right like in the middle of campus.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And it was just like, oh, and that's literally where everyone took their parents out when they came to
Yeah.
visit. It was just so funny. But yeah, Maxie's. Oh my gosh, that was good though.
Yeah.
They're one of the first ones to do that buffalo chicken.
Oh yeah.
So good. Yeah, there's a couple lunch trucks that is just I wish we had. I was saying this to my brothers. There was one Saturday I woke up, I'm like, man, I wish we were in Philly right now. I could walk across the street to a lunch truck and get a pork roll, egg, and cheese sandwich right now. That's hilarious. All right, cool. So what about the SAC? Didn't we occasionally went there for, it was like a special dinner, like Friday nights or something?
Well,
did?
we started going there more when we sophomore year because we were on the other side of campus.
Oh, that's right.
And it was so much closer.
Yeah.
But it was literally like Taco Bell or cheesesteak were your only options at the
yeah,
time.
yeah. I think they threw in like a Burger King that
Yeah.
closed down. Then there was like, yeah.
It was always the rotating like fast food places. In
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, nothing healthy by any
No, and
means.
the Cinnabon was there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But there too, they had like you could use your meal plan there
Yeah.
too, right? It was like a meal equivalency, whatever. But
Yeah.
you get like
$5.75. It was like
Yeah.
it got you nothing.
Yeah.
you get a small taco and a tiny drink.
Yeah.
Literally, I remember like the Burger King. I would get like a fry and like a small, like just a cheeseburger.
Because it wasn't the regular. If you went to the Burger King, it wasn't the same prices. It was like jacked up prices.
Oh, it was jacked up prices. It was crazy. They did though have like that one little pizza place. It wasn't that bad. It was like that oven pizza. Like soon as you walked in, do you remember that?
It was
They're
like a
just-
generic pizza thing.
Yeah,
It
they're just
wasn't like
handing
a-
out like slices.
But the lines were always so long. I think
Yeah.
Taco Bell's always the short. I must have had 5,000 quesadillas that year.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to wait for anything
Yeah.
else.
No, that's hilarious. But we also used the SAC. Wasn't the SAC? Or no, the SAC and the Tech Center are two different things. The SAC now is different though, right?
It's way more expanded now.
Yeah, it's way more expanded. They have that whole other room of like pool tables and ping pong tables that's
they,
connected.
They pushed
Oh,
it
yeah,
all the way to
that's
the
right.
essentially to the two Cecil B. Is now it's like that whole
Block.
the whole block is the SAC now.
But me and you, we would study a lot.
Yeah.
And we would go to Paley Library, which is now going to be destroyed.
Yeah. I think even the J&H is being destroyed now too.
Really?
Yeah, I heard that recently. They're going to renovate and put brand new dorms and stuff.
But now, hang on. But this is the thing with Temple. I mean, you're in a city, right? The landscape of Temple from being a freshman to when we graduated was totally different.
yeah,
There was
Oh, yeah.
buildings that I went to classes in my freshman year that were no longer there by the time I was a junior.
Yep.
They were constantly renovating. And even if I go there now, last time I was there was like 2 years ago, like on main campus walking around.
Yeah.
It was even strange then. There was things that weren't there. So I don't know if anyone knows, but there's the infamous Bell Tower. They're not knocking that down, right? That's like
No, there's
iconic.
no way.
I couldn't
Yeah.
imagine that.
yeah.
They're just removing the library, but
Yeah. But they're building a new one.
yeah.
But yeah, we would find our little section in the library. That library is old.
Yeah.
and we would study all freaking night long,
Yeah.
and then walk back freezing cold.
The rest of the house would be partying, and
Yeah, I never understood that. I'm like, how are you guys gonna leave here with a college degree?
Because what was the big Wednesday was the big night, right, at the Horse, and they'd always go out. And I think we had 7 a.m. class the next morning. They would always come back. I was like, oh man.
Yeah, they would come back yelling. I was
all
just
of
like,
you.
dude, I gotta get out of here, man. I can't do this. Well, it's frustrating too. I mean, we're just like, it felt like they were taking it kind of like as a joke, and we're sitting here like studying our tails off. It was intense for us. There was one semester I was taking 18 credits.
Yeah.
Like that's nothing to like,
Is that the max? That's not over the max, right?
No, that's the limit.
Okay.
After that, you had to pay.
You had
extra.
you had to get special
Approval or
Yes,
something. Like a clearance. There was one person I knew that took 21 credits. I'm like, I was thinking about that now. I'm like, dude, seriously, that person could graduate if they stayed on that pace. Could graduate in like 2 years or 2.5 years or something. Anyway, so what was beyond that? Like some of the extracurricular activities we did at Temple. I know we mentioned flag football. Did you do basketball?
I did one game, and then you guys didn't invite me back.
We turned him into the coach.
It's a little too physical on the court.
Hey, yeah. Steve's sitting there like beating people up. I'm like, dude, this is not rugby.
But, I did the snowboard club was a big thing for me, too.
Yeah, that's right. You guys started, right?
Yeah, Andy, our buddy Andy, started the snowboarding club, which I think now is the biggest club on campus.
Wow.
But that's kind of like where our other group of friends came in.
Yeah.
But that was a good time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge.
Because one time we went to not the homecoming, whatever it was.
Yeah, it was one of the Temple games. Yeah.
It was because we went. I think we met you because it was the snowboarding team, wasn't it?
TUSC.
TUSC, the club, yeah. I mean, we used to do the tailgates, parties, fundraisers, all sorts of stuff. So it's probably something.
What was there anything you did outside of school to relieve stress? I know we were huge into the gym.
We were, yep.
Hardcore.
Maybe a drink here or there too.
Yeah, of course. But no, wait, what gym did we work out in?
It was,
what was it called?
The IBC.
The IBC.
Which I think is like even bigger now and
really
so much nicer. Yeah.
Do you remember seeing those like incredibly huge like bodybuilders? I'm like, there's no way these guys are students. Remember that?
What?
Or maybe one of them were in the football team.
I think there were some grad students there, but some of the guys, all natural lifters, I guess.
Yeah. Dude, that was one thing about college, right? I come from a small town, small school. We graduated with under 100 people, my high school. And, I was like second tallest. That's pretty bad. And I'm only 6'3". I get on campus, and I'm literally like average height. These monsters that they recruit, it is just, it's incredible. And the amount of food these guys were eating, they would come every once in a while to where we were eating at or whatever. I mean, they would just have we had plates, they had trays.
Yeah. Well, because to build that much muscle, you have to eat like thousands of calories.
Dude, it was insane. That was an interesting time. In the football house, man, they threw some great parties too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was weird though. We stayed away from frats though. There's like one or two that we kind of like. Somebody had friends there.
Yeah, so we went. The Teak was the one we used to go to.
Right.
We knew some people there.
Right.
But that was kind of like they were like the frat that wasn't really they weren't the bros like everyone else.
Right.
But yeah, we went to some frat parties.
Yeah. They no, dude, that was classic. What all right, so we talked about the landscape, but what about some of the events? Do you remember Spring Fling?
Oh yeah, that was every year that was the big thing.
Yeah, so Spring Fling is basically the unfortunate part was there were still classes, right? Oh yeah. So this was like the most frustrating thing ever. It was like Temple University celebrating all kinds of, I guess it's just student life, and all like the fraternities and the sororities are out promoting who they were, and I'm assuming possibly recruiting people. There's different departments out there handing things out. There's businesses. There's a concert going on. But that was like the big event. People were at it like in the morning, like literally 7 in the morning, and it started and it went all the way up through the night. But that was the big thing. That was like Spring Fling is what people looked forward to. And it was tough, man. If you had a clash, like, oh no.
Because all you hear is commotion outside.
Yeah.
That's
It's like,
all you hear is
you just
people
wanna be out there.
laughing, commotion. Can you imagine that? It was like being grounded.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And your boys are out there, playing basketball or laughing, whatever.
Looking longly out the window.
Yeah, exactly. That's hilarious. All right, so Temple Sports. I know Temple Sports was like a big thing for us. I know basketball was, because I remember being a Temple basketball fan, but when I got there, I was surprised of, I guess how much more. I don't know if it's because everyone was so into it, how much more you get drawn to.
Sure.
Yeah.
I believe people who weren't even basketball fans even got drawn into it just because of the excitement.
Well, they were competitive too.
Yeah.
When we were there.
Yeah.
More so than they are now. So, when you win,
right.
people are coming out.
Yeah. What was the one kid? Oh, we dormed with a guy who was a walk-on.
That short dude. Yeah.
I forget what his name was, but
I
this
forget.
guy, I'm not kidding you. He was like 5'3",
Yeah, he was
5'4". Yeah. And he had like the true hoop dreams. Like as a kid, he always wanted to play basketball, always wanted to play. It was like, I don't even know. I don't know if it was it wasn't freshman. It was like his sophomore year.
Yeah, cool. Because we were at the game when he got minutes. Remember,
Yeah.
we went crazy when he got to go on the court.
Yeah, he actually made the cut as a walk-on.
Yeah.
So that just randomly pulled him into the game?
So either Temple was either winning or
Yeah, it was
losing
a
really
blowout,
bad.
yeah.
Something was a blowout either way. So what they do is they sub in, take out all their
The
starters,
Yeah.
for injury purposes and all that other nonsense, and fatigue, and they put in the backup players. Well, we were chanting his name, and finally they brought him in. The crowd erupts. It was awesome. I think he did get the ball a couple times. I don't know if he did much with it, but maybe a layup or something. But we went crazy, and he dormed with us.
Oh, wow.
Dude, he had I remember him having all these Jordans, and literally things. Man, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna play ball. And we're like, dude, you're 5'2". You're not gonna make. Dude, and he made the damn team.
That's awesome.
And he roomed with Geoff, one of those crazy dudes. It
Yeah,
was
yeah.
The odd couple.
Yeah.
Like the last thing he wanted to do.
Yeah, that was not a good mix there. Who was there? I know St. Joe's, our freshman year. St. Joe's was crazy
That's
good.
when West
Delonte
was there
West.
and Nelson was there.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. And so when they came to campus, when they played each other, I don't even know if it was an exhibition game or what that was about, but man, the campus went crazy because then you had St. Joe's kids come over talking smack, and everyone's going to the game. Star players are walking around, I don't know, looking to make friends, I guess. What a time! What an interesting time! And those are things you can't really pick. I mean, that was a luck of the draw that they just so happened to be good. Yeah, but who was the guy who was for Temple? He was like a grown man.
We were there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Manny would know.
Because that was when Blackshear was there. Oh, Marty Collins.
Marty Collins.
Yeah.
Which ended up going to professional ball.
Yeah,
Dude,
bro.
so it was again, it was one of those things we just walked into, kind of like the luck of the draw. All right, so you tell us, out of what was your favorite year? Freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior year?
Maybe junior.
Yeah.
Junior year.
Yeah.
Because we were in the house. It was total freedom. It's I don't know. Junior year, we did a lot that year.
Yeah, and I think there was it's kind of like this thing where you have obviously you had the pressure of the workload was different for me and you because of our major, but you had this thing in the back of your hand. It was I still got a whole other year. Right. So there was that worry of getting your stuff together was not there.
Right.
I mean, you got your stuff together for school and you knocked out what you had to do there, but anything outside, you didn't really have to think of anything for another year.
Right. And then, I think we were right. We were 21, I think, at that point. And not that we're out partying, but, we were able to explore the city where we got off campus more to really, appreciate Philly.
Yeah, exactly. That was awesome. The other, again, same thing. It was and I don't know. I think maybe it's a tie between freshman and junior for me. I don't know if it's a tie, but it's it's there. They're maybe it is a tie. I don't know. Freshman year was just cool because it was everything was new, and I think we got that rejuvenation with junior year. It was like, oh, we're back together. We had this whole house by ourselves. No one's telling us what to do. It was just like this funny, thing. The other cool part about where Temple was during that time was their games were played at the Link, and they still are. But I remember just taking. One time we took a bus. That was the worst idea ever. So Temple had this courtesy bus that they would take students to the game. What a disaster! I'm sure they got it all worked out now, but. At the time, you got to imagine some of these games are getting late into, October or whatever it was. It's starting to get cold outside, and you're standing for this shuttle all outside. So imagine this. You and your boys are all there, and there's 2-3 seats left, and you're there with 4 people.
Yeah.
So you're trying to play it off. Everyone's trying to get in. Oh, there's a seat back here. And the driver's like, nah, get out. It was a mess.
It was like Hunger Games trying to get on the bus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, and then I remember seeing a couple of my cousins. I met Betsy there one time where Temple played Rutgers or whatever it was. And we're right there. We're in the Link. I don't know. I think it was just cool, the experience that we were able to have because of being in a city. I think that's mainly what the whole thing was. All right, so with that whole thing with Temple and the support of your family and how you even chose the sport the college, is that something you're going to try to do with your family? If you were to have kids, will you put it on them you got to go to Temple?
I mean, I try to think no. I think it's more you just can't go to Penn State. Anywhere else is fine.
Yeah.
But if they go to Temple, cool. If not, because my wife, she's Kansas State. Not that the kid's gonna go out there, but.
Which is also cool, though.
Yeah, I went to go visit that campus. It was totally different than than Temple.
For sure. I feel like I'm the same way. The hard part, though, is for James right now. He's 5. Even just from the beginning, I mean, naturally, we're just buying him Temple stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then he's into football, and he's gonna watch what I'm watching. So I'm watching Temple football, Temple basketball.
Mm-hmm. And you got the stuff around the house too, right?
Yeah.
So he sees the banner.
Yeah. So he sees the banner hanging. He just. And so I don't know and he told me himself, I mean, we're talking about a 5-year-old, but still he's like, Dad, when I get older, big like you, I'm going to go to Temple. I mean, he just says it, and I don't know if he's just saying it just to, get something out of me, or if he really means it, but I genuinely do think it would be cool as hell. Again, it's totally, I guess up to him or whatever. But what do you think it means for you when someone says Temple made? What comes to your mind?
Well, I think we're from all the Philly schools, a different breed. We're not the Penn Trust Fund.
Yeah.
We're not Villanova.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's just, we were in North Philly, just coming from regular homes, and just kind of made it. Yeah,
exactly. I always like to think if Rocky really went to a school, a Philly school, it would have been Temple. You know what I mean? Awesome. Yeah, because it's and they always talk about being Temple tough. They say it a lot in the sports. It's just gritty. Now that we have this weird looking mascot for the Flyers, but it's true. It's really this there's something about Temple. It's you're not scared to get your hands dirty kind of thing. I think it's all that combined, plus that experience of. You're in the city. Yeah. Right?
It was survival mode.
Yeah, it was survival mode. You had to figure the thing out. There was no mom flicking on and off your lights to wake you up. Yeah. It's none of that stuff. I mean, down to the most silly things like toilet paper. As a kid, thank God my parents, were great providers, and you don't think about I didn't think about that stuff. Toothpaste, just crazy essentials. I don't think about that. Dude, we're out of toilet paper. My parents we had a pantry full of all this stuff. You just go downstairs, grab it, and keep it moving. Well, here it's you were out. You're supposed to plan that. Get toilet paper on your way in, or toothpaste, whatever the heck you needed, deodorant, just random stuff. But I think that's all part of the process of becoming, I guess, this well-rounded person. And I think it's kind of like what you said. It's the melting pot. Mm-hmm. What you get is from all walks of life, from totally different backgrounds. There's not a cookie cutter thing. I forget what university I went to, but it was the strangest thing. All these guys had on button downs with khaki shorts. the Ferris Bueller like whole like vibe or whatever going on. I'm like, thank gosh that Temple is not like this. You got all kinds of people.
Yeah. No, you're right. Because I think if I would have went to, Penn State or something like that, I just would have been high school grade 13. Just
right, exactly.
What I was comfortable with.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and it does. That's true. That's a great point. It takes you out of your comfort zone because now you're dealing with all kinds of people. You're not dealing with the same kinds, right? So it's like us, if I were to go to, an all Puerto Rican school, talk about comfort level. Like, as everyone knows, I know your parents and my parents we're probably somehow related. You know what I mean? It's like when you go to Philly, it's like, dude, you got everybody, all kinds of backgrounds. Temple especially is just cool as hell. And then post era, so you still follow sports, right? You still follow Temple sports. Can you talk a little bit about the annual game that you try to have or you've had going and what it's all about and what you're trying to accomplish?
Yeah, at least for the football game, we do a tailgate every year. Try to do it every year.
Yeah.
And it's just hopefully a chance to get everyone back together. And people do. They show up now, and of course now they got their significant others, their kids, and everything. And each year it gets bigger and bigger. We had the pig roast. And, half the time we don't even go into the game. I don't think because we're all just catching up.
Well, it's tough, right? I mean, you haven't seen people literally in a year since probably most people since the last Temple game.
Yeah.
Because everyone's so busy, everyone got their careers going and families, as Steve mentioned. That it's like you're there, even if you're just tailgating for like an hour or two, it's not enough, right? So they're like, we'll go in after first quarter.
And people look forward to it. They're like, doing the tailgate this year? And, I didn't, get why it was so important until, I think years later. Yeah,
definitely. No, it's super dope. No, fair enough. All right, so there you have it, folks. We'd like to wrap things up with quotes, and the first one is by John Chaney. I always say to my guys, the most important day of your life is today. This very minute is the most important of your life. You must win this minute. You must win this day, and tomorrow will take care of itself. And the second one is by Russell Conwell. Your diamonds are not in far distant mountains or in yonder seas. They are in your own backyard if you but dig for them. All right, Temple Made Part 2. In this episode, the pseudo-crew talks about their experience at Temple University. Part 1 was featured in episode 81. We cover topics that range from sports, classes, living arrangements, food, city life, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Russell Conwell and John Chaney. Awesome. Guys, thanks again for joining us. The Rotated Views podcast was produced for self-development purposes. Huge shout out to our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Blessed Lifestyle brand. That is BL3SSED.com. Also sponsored by The Motivation Files Unleashed. This motivational mixtape will be your fuel for success. Available on all platforms. Guys, don't forget to visit the website, JimmyLeeVelez.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Rotated Views. If you have any inquiries or questions, email us at info@JimmyLeeVelez.com. On behalf of myself and the rest of the crew, we wish you massive success. Stay blessed.